What's up, guys, and welcome to Scourge of War Waterloo, episode 23. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the French Corps scenario, simplistically titled just Ligny. It covers General Gerard's 4th Corps attack on the village of Ligny that got started around 3 p.m., about a half hour after General Vandamme started his attack on St. Armand. Uh, Now, when the Ligny expansion first came out, a little over a year ago, this was pretty much the go-to scenario that all the bigger wargaming channels were playing to show off the Ligny expansion. Um, I'm not going to name names, but you guys probably know the channels I'm talking about. Much bigger and more popular than my channel. Um, this is pretty much the scenario everyone was playing to kind of do like a first look at the Ligny expansion. Probably because it's only an hour long. The divisional scenario, no prisoners, is unlocked by getting a major victory in the scenario. So that scenario is not accessible when you first got the Ligny expansion. The one we did last week, Saint Armand, is more difficult because of I shouldn't say it's more difficult, but it certainly requires a little bit more creative thinking and some knowledge of the gameplay mechanics. This scenario is actually harder, but it looks easier, I guess, at the beginning because it looks more straight ahead. So this was the one, and then the other two scenarios are the army scenarios, which of course, they're not going to play. So this was like the scenario everyone was going for to do playthroughs of Ligny, and all of them got murdered. They all got destroyed. If you go watch these playthroughs by these bigger gaming channels, they all got wrecked because their bright military plan was to basically herp derp up to the town of Ligny and get slaughtered, and that's pretty much what happened to them. So this scenario is actually pretty difficult. It all lies in the approach march, and we'll get to that in a second. First, let's cover the situation here. The scenario is only 1 hour long. So it's not as long as the last one we played. And you command part of the French 4th Corps. Uh, Gerard had three divisions. He had Peugeot, Vichery, and Hulot. Now, Hulot's division was guarding the right flank from the Prussian forces in case there was attack from the Prussian forces in the Tongrenelle area. So they were not available to use. So this attack is being handled by basically two-thirds of Gerard's corps, Peugeot's division and Vichery's division. At the beginning of the scenario, you only have Peugeot's division, which is two brigades and an 8-gun artillery battery. And then 30 minutes into the scenario, you get Vichery's division is released. So here's the situation. General, the Prussian troops hold the area of Sombref and the line of River Ligny. The 3rd Corps of General Vandamme will force the river on the left. You will attack on the center with your troops taking the town of Ligny and the hills beyond. I estimate the Prussian forces being 1 corps strong all along the line. After having beaten and forced them to retreat to the Rhine, we will proceed towards Brussels, joining Marshal Ney's forces. And the mission is pretty simple. Attack and hold the town of Ligny. So let's scroll down here a little bit in a second here. As soon as I during the video I leave a little time to look at that. So all right, so we're going to scroll down and take a look at the map here. All right, let's pause it right here. All right, so these are the two divisions we have, Peugeot and Vichery. And then in front of them is a whole bunch of artillery that's basically been bombarding Ligny. You can't see them, but to the right around here, along this road facing Tongrenelle, is Hulot's division, and behind us is a whole bunch of cavalry. We don't have control over Hulot's division or any of this cavalry. All we have are two divisions. So one of the reasons I picked the scenario second is because it's only a little bit more to control at first than Saint Armand. So I think it's still a good introductory scenario in terms of the amount of troops you're going to control. Yes, it's two divisions, 4 brigades. It's about the same size as the number of troops we commanded in Napoleon's finale, episode 21. So, despite the fact that it is a somewhat difficult scenario, you're not handling an absurd amount of troops. And the secret lies in the approach. This over here is kind of like a castle. And behind this castle is a river kind of running through the town of Ligny. It kind of bisects it and splits it in half. Behind this river, right around here, is a big Prussian 8-gun artillery battery with some howitzers. The problem with attacking this side of the town is there's Prussian troops kind of in front of the guns here. There's Prussian troops in the castle here. And behind it all is this 8-gun artillery battery. So if you try and march just forward and attack straight forward into the town, you're going to meet a lot of resistance. And the objective in this, which is kind of around here, the objective is only worth 100 points per minute, and we need to get 4,000 points for a major victory. So we need to capture it pretty quickly because it's the only objective in the scenario. It's worth 100 points a minute, and we need to get to 4,000 points. So herp-derping up to the town here and basically face-pounding ourselves into the Prussians, like all these other wargaming channels have done with this scenario, is not going to work. What we need to do is do a looping right hook, kind of like this. We're going to march out diagonally. We're going to bypass the castle. We're going to bypass all this resistance right here. We're even going to bypass, for the most part, this kind of farmhouse that's occupied here, and we're going to swoop around into the left flank for the Prussians. But we're going to sweep around our right here and hit the Prussians in the left. There's not as much resistance here, and there's some room, kind of a corridor right here to come up. So what we're going to do is basically do this and come around and take the objective from the side like this and kind of bypass all this Prussian resistance that's set up right in here. They will turn to face us, but we're going to be in a much better position by coming through here. So we're going to basically do this with Peugeot's division, Rome and Schaefer's brigades. And then we'll just bring Vichery up at the, to kind of help solidify the position once we already have it. Vichery's division doesn't really do too much. You pretty much have to get the objective with Peugeot. Vichery's division isn't even released until 30 minutes into the scenario. If you don't have the objective by then, you've already lost, because you literally need to get it within the first 20 minutes of the scenario. Yeah, we pretty much want to get it with Peugeot's division and just have Vichery's division kind of come up and secure everything once we have it. So Peugeot's division kind of sweeping hook in around into the town of Ligny from here. You don't want to just face desk the town here and pound yourself against these Prussian defenses. It's really going to take its toll on you. Our troops aren't great. They're like level 5. There's even a level 4 unit in there. This is not the Imperial Guard. So we got to be smart. Blunt force is not going to work like it did in Napoleon's finale, because these troops are not capable of delivering that kind of sledgehammer blow like the Imperial Guard is. Like I said, these guys are level 5, level 4. They're average to below average troops. So we're going to have to use maneuver to get the job done here, as opposed to blunt force trauma. Rather than a sledgehammer, we're going with a scalpel, a surgical strike here. All right, so let's scroll down. So like I said, we have command of part of the French Corps. We have 2 divisions, Peugeot and Vichery, and the Corps Reserve Artillery. And you'll notice it says, please note, not all the forces are immediately at your disposal at the start of the battle. And that's referring to the fact that at the beginning, you only have Peugeot's division, and Vichery's division will be released to you at 30 minutes into the scenario. Again, we need 4,000 points for a major victory. And this, of course, is the biography. By all means, you can read it by pausing the video if you like. All right, so let's get this going. Pop my beverage here. Alrighty. So this is our corps commander, General Gerard. These are our forces lined up in front, and here comes our courier from Napoleon, who has conveniently made it over to the side of the battlefield for the scenario, even though he was supposed to be around Fleurus. All right, it says, General Gerard, the attack of General Vandamme's corps has already started. Order the division of General Pichot to advance and occupy the town of Ligny. And that is from Major General Marshal Soult, Chief of Staff of the Army of the North. All right, so this is Vichery's division on the right and Pichot's division on the left. So we're going to take Rome's brigade, and because they're the closest, basically. That's the only reason I chose. Both brigades are pretty much the same troop quality. One is no better than the other. But they're the closest to the right. So we're going to swing them out and put them in column by division, take charge of all the troops so that they just march and don't get distracted. And we're going to take Schaefer's brigade on the left here, and we're going to sidestep them. We're going to use the right flank button, which at the brigade level here, which I showed you how to use in episode 1 of the Grog Toolbar Demystified. And I'm just getting a good camera shot here so you can see the whole move. And we're going to right flank the entire brigade. You can see the arrows moving across the screen as I mash the right flank button, and we're just going to sidestep his brigade to take up position where Rome's brigade just was. And the artillery bombardment begins. So this is the castle. This is where all the Prussian defense is, and right on that road back there is where the Prussian battery is, and all that stuff is what we want to avoid. This is our artillery battery. I'm going to move it up a little bit, but really you don't want to move it close. If you move it too close, kind of past this point right here, the Prussians will send out skirmishers to turn them around, just like we did in St. Armand. Where do you guys think I learned that trick from? I discovered it in this scenario when the Prussians did it to me. And that's how I discovered using skirmishers to turn artillery batteries around, which we used to devastating effect in the last episode. So yeah, you don't want to move your artillery too close because the Prussians will use that trick too. And really this is going to be an infantry battle. Artillery, we're not really going to, we only have control over one battery to start with, and it's, like I said, too dangerous to move it too close. So I'm just inching it up just a little bit, just because, you know, what the heck. And basically right now, this is the approach march. We're bypassing all of this. This is where all the Prussians are, and we're going to go in through here and then hook left behind this first row of buildings here. So we're going to kind of bypass this. There's some Prussian skirmishers in here, and basically we're going to come through here and kind of up in this space right here, and we're going to march and go for the objective and capture the objective, and then worry about dealing with the Prussians as they move over to attack us. So this is the kind of why we want to do this. We want to slip in behind so we can get the objective, and then we can kind of fight the Prussians defensively, as opposed to trying to bang our heads against them without having the objective, and it takes too long. You know, this objective is worth 100 points a minute. If you capture it relatively early, it can get you enough points. But you really have to get to it, you know, at least before halfway through the scenario. If you don't, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it to 4,000 points. You know, if you're competent, you might get an inconclusive fight. If you're, you know, a true military idiot, as some of these bigger wargaming channels are, then you get the major defeat. I have actually played the scenario headquarters in the saddle, and the best I've ever done is an inconclusive fight. I don't believe the scenario is winnable, and unless you play it, you know, like this, without couriers and without headquarters in the saddle. I have done my damnedest, and you just can't control the troops well enough to kind of avoid them getting into bad situations. So it's kind of all about the timing here as we do this approach march. Now, as we get closer, the Prussians will send out some skirmishers to try and stall us. But it's something I've seen them do before. So what we'll do is just split off some skirmishers, detach them from the brigade so that we can move the brigade as a whole and not move them, and just have those skirmishers deal with the Prussian skirmishers while we basically keep on and moving. So it's a little slow here at the beginning because the approach march is fairly long and fairly complex. Like I said, you can't just march up to the town and start pounding your helmet into the defenses back there. It's too heavily defended. You'll never get past it in time to capture the objective to get enough points. So, like I said, scalpel, not sledgehammer in this scenario. And especially since our troops just are not cut out to be trying to sledgehammer their way through defenses. You know, they're not that kind of high quality troops. So here come the skirmishers running out of Ligny here to intercept us. And we're going to double quick our forces to get them into position quickly. And we will, from the last unit over there, we will detach some skirmishers to intercept them kind of around here. And we're going to detach 2 skirmishers groups so we outnumber them. And here we go. We're going to click on detach some skirmishers to intercept these guys. And again, I'm just waiting until they start moving on their own to take charge of them so that we can recall them later if need be. And like I said, we're going to split off 2 skirmisher groups so that we outnumber them. Because skirmisher versus skirmishers are pretty much, you know, it's pretty much an even fight. So the only way to win is to get numerical superiority, and we're going to do that, and we're also going to put this unit on their flank so we get flank fire. And we're also going to detach them, which is what I'm doing by turning that plus sign into a minus sign there, so that we can continue to move the brigade up towards town, but not cause the skirmishers to move too. Because I'm going to take all the units off take charge to move them, and then put them back on take charge, so I don't want that to affect the skirmishers. So that's why we detach them from the brigade, so that they no longer accept brigade level commands from the brigade commander. They're basically detached on their own, and that's kind of the big use of using the detached button, is to basically have some troops stay where they are while you can move other troops as a group and not affect them. And as I advance Rome's brigade, I'm also making new locations for Schaefer to advance to, just to keep all the troops moving and getting them moving forward. So the Prussian skirmishers are wisely pulling back, and we will advance our skirmishers just a little bit. We don't want to get them too close so they get embroiled in fighting with these guys in the farmhouse here. But just to keep these guys, just to make sure these guys run for good, we're going to advance these guys. We'll put this skirmisher unit kind of right here, and we'll bring these guys up and send these guys running for good. And here comes Schaefer's brigade. And I'm just waiting for the rest of Rome's brigade to come up here. This was the unit, of course, that I stopped to split off skirmishers from, so they're lagging a little bit behind. And the Prussian skirmishers are taking off. So now we're going to undetach our skirmishers and recall them to basically re-strengthen our line unit. get them back up to full strength. Those, as you can see, those Prussian skirmishers, they're heading for cover. And we can see some Prussian units moving up here. And now, once again, I'm going to untake charge of the brigade. And as soon as they're in position, we'll move the whole brigade forward. Schaefer's brigade here is coming up. And we're going to move them up towards the town. And we want to get by this area pretty quickly because our leftmost units might be in range of this little farmhouse here. And we just kind of want to sneak by them. Like I said in the last video, we can't just kind of walk up and bypass in a fortified position like this and be like, hey, we're going to ignore you, vive la France. It doesn't work that way. We'll get shot in the back. However, if we move far enough out of range, we can bypass it. So that's what we're going to do. Basically going to move our men in and just kind of stay out of range of this whole thing. And now you'll notice some Prussian units are actually coming forward out of the town. This is kind of a rare result. I have seen this before. But it's very rare, and I'm not sure what causes it. It may be the wide flank march here that as we are really circling kind of way out of the way to come in from the town. But, you know, a whole regiment basically comes forward out of the town, and they try to engage our artillery back there, you know, back along the where our lines are. And that's actually good for us because it's 3 whole Prussian battalions that we don't have to deal with, and that's a good thing. However, like I said, it's kind of a rare result. I don't know what causes it. I have seen it before where the Prussians do this, and the only thing I can think of is it's just this wide flank march that we're doing that causes the Prussians to actually come forward and try and attack. So we are now going to move our 1st Brigade, Rome's Brigade, into the town. We're bringing Schaefer up kind of right behind them. And like I said, I'm going to just keep advancing their positions so that they keep moving up to follow Rome's Brigade. So we've got all this artillery out here, and that's more than enough to handle a couple of battalions that are going to come out here. So as you can see now, we can start to see that some of the reserve units the Prussians have in here. They're sending some skirmishers forward, but we're going to walk right through them. We don't give a damn about them. That's just a skirmisher unit. We're just going to keep advancing and just push them out of the way. We're not even going to charge them. We're just going to walk right through them, and they'll back off. So yeah, here we have 2 whole Prussian battalions out here. And they're going to advance and attack the artillery because we've already kind of slipped around behind them. And like I said, sometimes that happens, and so don't count on it. You know, it's cool if it does happen because it's 2 or 3 Prussian battalions that you're not even going to have to deal with, and that does help. But, you know, don't count on that happening. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's rare that it does. So we're, like I said, this area in here is initially practically completely undefended, and that's why we're going to slip in here like this. And we're just going to keep walking forward as long as we can till we actually have to do some fighting. And we will have Schaefer's brigade Schaefer's brigade move in kind of right behind them. So the skirmishers have backed off, but we're just going to keep walking right up to them. This is about getting to the objective. That's what's most important here. As you can see, the artillery is actually doing quite a number on these Prussian units out here. If we get another look at them, you'll see there's some bodies on the ground. So once again, the Prussian skirmishers are retreating as we're advancing pretty much unopposed. Look at all this. These battalions are getting pounded on by the French artillery. As you can see, there's another Prussian unit here. They're advancing here, but this catches them. You know, this always catches them by surprise, coming in on the flank like this. All their resistance is basically over here, and they're bringing their reserves forward to try and intercept us now. But you know, we have them highly outnumbered here. We have 2 whole brigades coming into town at this point. And we're pretty much going to just kind of swoop in and take the objective. And the approach march and how you do it is really the key factor here. So as you can see, another Prussian battalion is marching out. So we are really getting lucky here in that any resistance that could have been offered by those 3 battalions is not going to be there because they're out front and we've already slipped in behind them. And we're pretty much just kind of walking towards the objective. And the skirmishers just keep giving ground because they know we're just going to keep walking through them. And we're going to see if we can get Rome's brigade completely over here. We've already gotten possession of the objective. It's a 200-yard radius, but and we're the only ones near it. That's why we've got it. But we want to get our units up here and secure this kind of whole circle area around here. So at this point, I'm just moving individual battalions into the positions I want them to be in. And I'm also going to set up a bit of a defense around here, from here to here. Some of these units will, you know, come and get us. And I'm going to use Schaefer's brigade to deal with these guys coming down here. We have them totally outnumbered. So we are 15 minutes into the scenario. We already have the objective, and we've barely fired a shot. We did this entirely by maneuver, and that's kind of the key to this whole scenario, is kind of slicking your way around the town and coming in where they're not prepared for you to come in, as opposed to just kind of charging headlong in here, you know, and like I said, all the resistance is up in here. So rather than attacking that resistance, we can just swoop in, take the objective, and then defend against that resistance, and that's always easier. So we got some Prussians forming up on our right here, but we have the objective, and we're going to set up a kind of a defense around this area here, and we're also going to use Schaefer's brigade down here. And here we go, charging into their flank. Good stuff. And we're going to hit these bozos in the flank too. See, we got some more Prussian forces marching out of the town. I don't think they quite know what happened here. How half their town got taken, you know, without a shot being fired, so to speak. So I'm just going to start kicking out skirmishers to screen these units from this. This artillery is not much of a threat. It's only one artillery over here. It's only one gun firing at us right now, and they're not in canister range. So one Prussian unit surrendered, another one surrendered. And we're just kicking some butt here. And these guys, look at them. I didn't even order them to do this. They just keep charging. Bunch of killers over here. And they're doing pretty good. So we're going to bring another line up and just kind of solidify our hold on the objective and make sure Prussian units can't get in range to... look at this. These absolute killers over here. Send these guys packing. However, their morale is taking a little bit of a hit. They're down to good, so let's bring them back. No need to get them routed. Alright, so now some of these Prussian units that are over here have turned their attention on us. And we're going to set up a little bit of a defense kind of along here. They're sending some skirmishers forward, so we of course will do the same thing. So that we are not on the receiving end of skirmisher fire with just a line unit here, because generally skirmishers will do better against line units. So we're going to compensate by putting our own skirmishers out front. Here comes some more Prussian units. But at this point, we have really infiltrated this town. We have the objective. We have Schaefer's whole brigade up here, bringing these killers back to restrain them, because they're a bunch of animals. And here we go. We have these 3 Prussian battalions way out in front of the town, and they're going to attack our artillery. Like I said, that's a good thing if it happens, but it's kind of rare for it to happen. Alright, so we got our skirmishers out front. We're going to bring the second line here up so that we have more firepower. And we will begin kind of organizing ourselves up here. So here comes some more Prussians. We pushed back 2 battalions, but here comes another one. And I'm just kind of let them get themselves kind of stuck in here, and we're going to shoot at them. They're nowhere near the objective, so I'm not worried about them trying to take the objective. They'd be crazy to charge 3 battalions. They'll get crushed. So we're gonna bottle them up in here and just shoot at them. So here goes these 3 Prussians out on their crazy mission. To bravely attack our artillery batteries, which is not going to go very well for them. So we're going to bring another battalion up to form line against these guys. We're also going to attach a skirmisher unit to send out on the right flank here to deal with these skirmishers that are sitting right here, so they're not shooting this line that's going to deploy here. So they're not shooting them in the flank. So we're going to send some Prussian skirmishers, some of our skirmishers, to deal with these guys. See, they're already thinking about it. They're like, oh, look, a line is moving up right here. We're going to shoot them in the flank. No, you're not, because I'm sending skirmishers in to take care of that. And they're behind this line, so this line isn't going to do anything to them. So we're going to form line with this unit and start shooting at these guys. And we are covering our flank with our skirmishers. So now the second Prussian unit, they want to get involved. We can see we've driven off the Prussian skirmishers with our skirmishers. And we're going to start at seeing if we can get a bit of a better position on these guys. And this is my artillery battery, and I decided to get them out of there because there's plenty of artillery here that's not under my command. Go attack them. Leave my artillery battery alone. So we're just going to get them out of there. And if the Prussians want to tangle with the artillery, they can tangle with that big line of artillery back there. So we've sent that Prussian line packing. They're running away. And you can see we have some more Prussians moving in here. These guys are still off on their own adventure. And we have another Prussian unit moving in on our left. So the Prussians are starting to close in on all sides here. And like I said, it's easier to defend against it than it is to try and attack all this. This coming over here, this is all that resistance that was over here. That, you know, was meant to head us off if we just charged the town directly. So now they're starting to turn to face us. So I've got 2 lines of infantry set up to meet them and a skirmisher line in front of them. And they're charging our skirmishers. And I'm just going to recall them and get them out of there, and I'm going to charge them with this unit. And bring these guys up behind them in case they need help. And they're not getting the best of it, but the Prussian morale caves, and these guys end up winning, even though they were not getting the best of that charge. But the Prussian morale caved in before they could rout this unit, and they ended up pushing them back. So what we're going to do is pull them back behind this bigger unit here. They didn't get the best of that. They lost 60 men in that charge. So I'm going to bring a bigger line unit in to start firing at these guys. This unit here is the only one shooting. They're not too big, so we're going to bring these guys in here and put them in front, and this unit is quickly going to give way. And this is a pretty even fight now. These 2 Prussian units are pretty big. So I think I'm going to actually bring a 3rd unit down and get them involved. And what I do is I end up taking this unit and putting them in, circling them down here and putting them on the flank of this Prussian unit. And that's when the Prussian collapse here happens. And I'm going to bring this unit down to kind of take their place. So when this unit swings around down back here behind the Prussian units and you start shooting them in the flank, that's when we get the upper hand. So as you can see, this Prussian unit that was here has given way, as I knew they would. So we can bring a unit up behind these skirmishers now to really give a lot of supporting fire to these skirmishers. And that's what we're going to do with these guys right here. We're going to put them in line behind these skirmishers and really pour it on to this little skirmisher unit here and send them packing. So pretty good. We have good control of the town now. We have kind of almost very interior lines. We're almost in a circle. And I pulled my artillery battery back. Some of the other guns are withdrawing as these Prussian skirmishers came forward. And we still have Vichery's division sitting back there that has not even been activated yet. We got about 2 minutes before they are released to us. We've pushed most of the Prussian forces out of the town at this point. As I said, this side of the town is not very heavily defended. We can see a Prussian unit kind of walking around. I'm surprised they're not contesting the objective. I would think they're close enough to contest the objective. And they are running away. I guess they don't want to be shot at by these guys. I think these were the same guys that lost that charge. And once again, we'll kick out some skirmishers in front of those guys to screen them from the artillery. It's only one gun. It's not much of a threat. We have 1,300 points so far, at least for Rome. He has the objective. And we're now bringing Pichot up, who is the division commander, to occupy the objective and take over. And eventually we'll bring Gerard, the corps commander, up here, so he takes over the objective. And we'll even have Vichery come up and be here. So we'll have basically the entire corps command up in this little spot on the objective here, having a little corps staff meeting. All right, so now we've got two bigger units engaged, and we're moving a unit on the side here, and we're going to get them right on the Prussian flank. Get them into position and start pouring fire into the flank, and that's when that position will pretty much give way. So now these three Prussian battalions that are out on their super brave mission to attack our artillery batteries are marching toward them. And canister fire makes quick work of them. Even undefended the way they are, there's just so much artillery there. It's a lot of fire. So here comes another Prussian battalion, and they want to have some fun. They're getting shot at while they're marching, though. And we're going to bring another unit up. And it says, the division of General Pichot is in trouble. Order the division of General Vichery to join the attack. And basically that means Vichery's division is now released to us. I personally don't think General Pichot's division is really in much trouble. I think we're doing just fine, but that's what the courier says. Clearly they didn't expect us to be doing as well as we are. We have firm control of the objective. We have these two Prussian units here outflanked. These guys are just walking into disaster. That's a lot of guns right there. And we will start bringing, this is Le Capitain's brigade, we'll bring them up. And this is Desprez's brigade, and we'll bring him up. And I'm just getting them up into, positions closer to the town. I'm not putting much thought into this. I already have control of the town. I'm just moving them up. And now, because these guys are marching towards the guns and General Gerard is back there, I'll decide to bring General Gerard forward into the town, where it's actually safer because we have much firmer control of it. And we're really going to start pouring close-range fire into these Prussians' flank now. These guys are doing good. They've scored 181 points. We're shooting it out with this Prussian battalion here, but we've got skirmishers in front. We're doing just fine over here. And here go these brave lads trying to attack our artillery. That's a lot of guns to be walking up into, though, with only 2 battalions. I don't think it's going to work out too well for them. So there's Vichery. We'll bring him up. Double quick leaders because they don't have fatigue. And here is Gerard. And as you can see, the Prussian infantry is actually getting pretty close. So we're actually just going to bring him up with Vichery's division and get him someplace safer. So total, we have 2,600 points so far, and we will bring Gerard to occupy the objective. So our point total is just with him at that point. So here come the Prussians, and there goes the canister fire. And that's a lot of guns that are going to be pouring that canister fire into them. And yeah, that really hurts. That does a lot of damage. And the closer you get, the more damage it does. And there's a lot of guns there. So as you can see, that whole Prussian position collapsed as soon as we moved these guys onto the flank. Both lines ran for it at that point. So flank fire, very powerful. And they've regrouped behind these buildings here. We're not going to antagonize them. We're just trying to hold our objective here. One unit is running. These brave lads here have formed line and are trying to shoot at some of these guns are withdrawing, but there's just so many of them. And a few shots of canister send them running. All right, so we have basically cleared the whole right side of Ligny of the Prussians. We have the objective. We're in good shape. There's Schaefer. And we're just going to move him up kind of behind some of his units. And now we're just going to start kicking out some skirmishers to screen our lines that we have set up here. Just kind of in the openings between the buildings is where we're going to stick them. Kind of here, here. You know, put one out here. And these guys have all gotten turned back by the grape shot from the artillery. And again, we're just getting some skirmishers out there just to screen that battalion from the guns. They're not in canister range or anything, but skirmishers are certainly harder to hit than line infantry is. So it's always good to send out some screening forces. And we have a nice kind of semicircle, almost a whole circle set up around the objective. It's a pretty strong position. It's hard to attack through a town, which is why we didn't want to do it. So it's going to be hard for the Prussians to really hit us with sufficient numbers to break us at this point. And we're also bringing up, an entire other division. So as you can see, pretty much as long as you come around and really do a wide sweep into the town, Pachot's division alone is pretty much enough to get the job done. You get to the objective and then you defend against the Prussians rather than trying to storm headlong into the town from here. And I've done that, and it's just, it's a mess. It's impossible to get to the objective in time. There's too much Prussian resistance. They're prepared for you to come from this way. This is what you're expected to do. The only way to win the scenario is to do something unexpected. So we've got the rest of Vichery's division moving in here. Yeah, I think I'm looking for Gerard, but he's in there amongst Vichery's troops. And we're just going to bring him up to the objective. We've got 3,200 points. So, as you can see, even capturing the objective as early as we did, we still haven't made it to 4,000 points. It's only worth 100 points a minute, and it's the only objective in the scenario. So you really have to capture it early to extract enough points for it. We captured it 15 minutes into the scenario, and here we are 40 minutes into the scenario, and we still haven't gotten there yet. So that's why I say it's important to just kind of sneak in here like ninjas and occupy the objective without the Prussians kind of being able to offer up much resistance. And then when they finally do, you kind of already have the objective, and you can defend against them as opposed to trying to attack them headlong. Which, as I said, is what most of the other wargaming channels did when the Ligny expansion first dropped. And, I encourage you guys to go watch those videos because they're excellent examples of how not to play this game. And I don't mean that as a diss against those other YouTubers. You know, most of them play, you know, a gazillion other games besides this one. They're not going to be experts in it. But nevertheless, the videos are up there, and they are really good examples of what not to do. And seeing examples of what not to do can be just as important as seeing examples of what to do. So we got Gerard, our corps commander. He's taking over the objective now. We're at 3,477 points. And what do I always do when I have nothing better to do? I dress my lines. Nothing like neat, orderly lines. And like I said, I'm just kicking some skirmishers out to kind of fill in the gaps between these buildings. And most of these Prussian units now have kind of lost the taste for battle. They've withdrawn out of the town, and they're just kind of recovering their morale. They will make a little another attempt at it in the closing moments, but at this point now, with Vichery's division up too, it's really not going to work out for them. So Vichery's division is filing into town here. And we have Le Capitain's brigade, and we're just going to bring them over here. And we'll kind of park Les Prez's brigade where they currently are, where Le Capitain's brigade is. And we now have all our troops in Ligny filing in. $3,700 points, so pretty close. A few more minutes and we'll pass 4,000 points. We still got 20 minutes left in the scenario, plenty of time. And you can see the Prussians on the right there, on the top right corner here, are sending out some skirmishers. So they may be preparing to do something here, but we're pretty much ready to face them all along our line here. And not to mention we still have Le Capitaine and Desprez's brigades back here. We have plenty of manpower. We are in good shape. So here they come. They're moving forward. This battalion's moving forward as well. And we have some more forces over here. And they appear to all be coming forward, but we will be ready for them. In fact, I think we're just going to send Desprez's brigade, entire brigade over to take care of them. So now Vichery's division is up. They are inside Ligny. And let's see what the Prussians have in store for us. Their whole little artillery excursion completely failed. They've been pushed back. We're going to kick out another skirmisher group here just to kind of strengthen this position in here. As you can see, the Prussians are coming forward again. And I'm just positioning this unit so they can get all their troops to fire. There we go. Good spot right there. And we're going to send these guys kind of over here to shoot at these guys, kind of through this gap right here. And we can send these guys over to support these other skirmishers. And I'm going to send one unit from Le Capitaine's brigade as a possible counter-attacking force. I'm going to march them up in column by division. No, don't try and cross the river, dummies. So we're just going to click on the bridge. Have some of these skirmishers start pulling back. Yeah, these dodos got charged. They're retreating. Once they fall back, we'll just recall them. Now I'm thinking about maybe taking Desprez's brigade and actually hitting these guys in the flank up here. Let's move that whole brigade up there. There's only 2 Prussian battalions there and some skirmishers. There will be no match for an entire brigade. So we're going to send Desprez to do that. Well, our little skirmishers have pulled back. No problem. We'll shoot it out with these Prussian line units for a while, because eventually we're going to hit them in the flank with Desprez's brigade. And we can actually take these skirmishers here, move them forward, and put them on the Prussian flank. Get some flank fire going. That's always fun. Oh, these guys have routed. They're running to the Prussians. We surrender! Don't shoot us! And now these guys will start shooting the Prussians in the flank, while this unit shoots them in the front. And that's always a nasty combo. And here come Desprez's brigade. And we'll bring this little small unit up and kind of strengthen our line on the right a little bit. It's not being put under too much pressure right now. And we'll bring this unit up as kind of, just in case we need a counter-attacking force. They really haven't been engaged. They're in good shape. So we have 4,400 points. We have now passed the amount we need for a major victory. 15 minutes left in the scenario to go. And we're going to have a little charge here with Desprez's brigade. They're getting shot at right now. We're going to move these guys up and charge these Prussian units with a whole brigade, and they will not stand up to that. One of the keys of charging with troops that, aren't the Imperial Guard is to just really charge with vast superiority of numbers. If you charge 1 or 2 battalions with an entire brigade, even if your troops aren't like the most amazing troop quality, you're going to win. So whenever possible, whenever you're going to initiate a charge like this, charge with a whole brigade. Just hit them with multiple battalions, and they'll lose. The Prussians are, they're just going to be overwhelmed by the sheer number of troops coming towards them. Which is why I tend not to charge single units. Sometimes it's unavoidable, of course, but if you can, whenever possible, charged with, you know, superior forces. So these Prussians have been completely run off now. Bye, guys. And what we're going to do is swing Desprez's brigade out and around the Prussian left flank here, and start shooting these guys in the flank. So these guys are falling back now. They were being shot at in the flank by the skirmishers, as well as this line here. So this battalion here is kind of all that's left putting up a fight. And like I said, we're going to come in on their flank with Desprez's brigade. Nothing much else going on. And these are just courier messages that we're intercepting, where Jagow here is sending a courier message to his corps commander asking for help because the town of Ligny has been overrun by us devils, the French here. And they are in trouble. So we're going to set Desprez's brigade up in line here on the Prussian flank. And we don't quite need to go to this extreme. I'm going to pull 2 units kind of behind. We only need like 2 battalions to get this going. And off the Prussians run. There they go. Had enough of the artillery for the day. I don't know why I chose to move Le Capitaine here. Just felt like moving the officer, I guess. So Desprez's brigade has pushed back these 2 Prussian battalions and now is preparing to move in on their flank. We don't need to have the entire brigade in line like this. We'll pull some of these units and have them be in reserve, and we'll just use 2 line units. That's all it's going to take to shoot these guys up, if they even stand for that long. They're actually, you can see they're already pulling back. So Desprez might not even get the chance to get a shot off before these guys pull back. You can see they're already withdrawing. They're retreating while engaged. Basically fall back while engaged. And that's pretty much how you do it, guys. Slide in around the side and you know, kind of take the objective right from under their noses, because they're not really expecting you to do that. They're expecting you to just kind of come at the town, and you know, the town is pretty heavily defended. If you do it like that, it's really hard to get to the objective in time. And you're also going to take a lot more losses if you attack straight forward, which makes it so that not only do you have to get the points you need to win the scenario, but you got to like make up the points that you're losing from the, you know, from the kind of rather hard pounding you're going to get from the troops in the castle over there, from the artillery back behind the river. That's just not the way you want to do it. You know, these aren't, like I said, these aren't great troops. So, like I said, scalpel, not sledgehammer for this one. And we'll advance this unit to take up a position in the hedgerows, and we're just going to kind of pull Desprez's brigade and kind of set them up in front of the hedgerows here. But the fight has pretty much gone out of the Prussians at this point. And looks like all secure at the moment here. 5,200 points, 1,000 points above what we need for a major victory. So we are doing just ducky. This is that skirmisher unit, I guess, that retreated. We'll just recall them. Don't need them anymore. And Vichery, why don't you come up and join the other senior staff here at the objective? We're all just hanging out here, having some French blend of cappuccino. And we're just going to deploy Desprez's brigade kind of in the forward position. Set these skirmishers up in the hedgerows along with this other line unit, so we have some advanced troops here, but we don't need them at this point. There's only 7 minutes left in the scenario, and as I said, the will to fight has pretty much gone out of the Prussians at this point. There's only a couple of battalions back there. They've all been hit hard. What more are they going to do, right? Meanwhile, we've got 2 French divisions occupying the town at this point. And like I said, we got a little lucky at the beginning there because those 3 Prussian battalions decided to attack our artillery line rather than us. So that was 3 Prussian battalions that we didn't have to deal with. And like I said, that doesn't always happen. I'm not sure what triggers that to happen. I have seen it before when I played the scenario, but I couldn't tell you what it is that actually makes them do that, because I always use the same approach march, and sometimes those Prussian units attack the artillery, and sometimes they attack us. Either way, the scenario is still winnable. We're only talking about 3 battalions. It's not, it's not a deal breaker. But yeah, it certainly makes it easier if those Prussian units go and attack the artillery. So here they come, 1 battalion, and this isn't going to last long. I'm going to take this unit and set them up on the flank. And they're going to have 3 battalions firing at them, and they're only 1 battalion. And like I said, I'm just going to set up and shoot at them. I don't really have like a huge interest in charging them or anything. Just hold them in place. Only 5 minutes left in the scenario. They're nowhere near the objective. They're no threat to us. I just want to basically keep them penned up. And now they've got 3 battalions firing on them. They're not going to stand there for long. Other than that, our hold on Ligny is pretty secure at this point. And we have 5,500 points. And this unit is already beginning to fall back. They're up against, 3 French battalions that are shooting at them, so they're clearly outgunned. And nothing else really happening as we wind down the scenario here. These guys are already pulling back. They're going to rout momentarily. They're going to get out of there. Time to run, guys. You're making a good fight of it, but you're up against 3 French battalions here. And I don't know where these guys think they're going. They're walking somewhere, but, you know, there's a whole French brigade out here that we could destroy them with if we wanted to. So, basically, nobody is a threat to us anymore. And there's only 2 minutes left anyway. So there they go. Running away. And I'll just take this big battalion and kind of put them in front here. In case anybody else decides to try and come through here. But they don't. That was kind of the only unit there. So Le Capitain's brigade has taken a few losses from the artillery that's back up over the left there. And it's mostly this battalion here. So we're just going to march them forward to get them out of the range of fire shortly. Yep, there they are, these guys. 42 losses. So see if we can just move them and get them out of the range of, or out of the view of the artillery. Not that it really matters. I mean, it's 1 minute left in the scenario, but another courier intercepted. Those guns are still pounding away on those scattered Prussian units out there. And 5,900 points. Do we break 6,000 here? What do we got? Yes, we're gonna break 6,000. Just gonna break 6,000. There we go, 6,024 points. And the scenario is over. And here we are, General Gerard, occupying Ligny, most triumphantly. So we inflicted 3,400 casualties and took 2,100 casualties. Most of the goodness here was done by Pichot's division. They scored 2,700 points. And some of it was done by Rome's brigade, and Vichery really didn't do too much, other than Desprez's little charge there. You know, they basically just came up kind of at the end after we had already captured the town. So, like I said, it's mostly Pichot who does most of the work here. So, all right, guys. So that's it for episode 23. And like I said, the biggest thing here is the approach march, slipping in around the Prussian left flank and taking the town from the side that they're just not expecting you to come from, and just kind of snaking your way in there and just kind of making a beeline for the objective. And then once you have the objective, then you can hold off the Prussian attacks rather than try and march straight up against the town and meet all that Prussian resistance that is in there. And it's very hard to actually break through that and get the objective in time. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, the approach march. And like I said, scalpel, not sledgehammer. All right, guys. So that's it for this episode. Until next time, take it easy.